compositor. So upper left it's a 0, and the x-axis is at the bottom. We all heard of string resolutions such as 640 by 480, 800 by 600, 1024 by 768. This maps into the coordinate system. So there are 640 pixels horizontally and 480 pixels vertically. That was so hard. Now for topic number 2. Collision detection. Everyone can hear me? Yes, okay. So collision detection is very hard. Collision detection is the algorithm used to see if two sprites intersect. What are sprites? A sprite is the image of a game object. This character from Italy is an Italian plumber from Italy. And this dinosaur are sprites. Question: are these two sprites touching? No. We are human. We know they are not touching. But to a computer, we need math. Did this sprite touch? Yes. But to the computer, you still need math. That's what I said. To simplify the math, sprites are represented by the computer as rectangles. If a rectangle overlaps, it means there is a collision or an event is triggered. An event can be anything that can affect the game. It's an event. Now for the math. The formula to check if two rectangles have collided is this one. First box, that x plus box 1 that width, you can read. So, let's try to understand this mathematical formula. This is a sprite. Here is the dinosaur. Our hero has a width of 10 and a height of 50. And starts at 0, 0. The monster has a width of 50 and a height of 40. And is at 100, 0. On the first test, the first plug, box 1x, this is our hero, 0 plus the width is not greater than 100. So they did not collide. Let's check this. 0 plus 10 is greater than 9. We're going to skip because I'm really afraid of math and I'm afraid of doing the formula. So if we feed this to a computer, the computer would understand that they have collided. Here, our hero have moved past by 100 pixels, while the monster is at 0, 0. The first flag checks, but the second failed. In short, these two did not collide. Wasn't that scary? Mathematics. Ito translation. You now know math. Now let's go game programming design patterns. We have a game loop and a game object. A game loop is simply an infinite loop. The word is set up, and then an infinite loop happens where the input is checked, all the objects are updated, and the objects are drawn. All games are like this. Each iteration is referred to as a frame. Now, for the game object. We have here a very simple game object in C++. We have a class of monster, and we're going to update and draw. Every frame, the game will update and draw all of the game objects. All the objects in the game can be defined as a class. We also need game objects container. This is in C++. So, a master container, or rather an object container, is responsible for managing all instances of the class. So this master container is responsible for updating and drawing the monster. Game platforms can be built, or rather programmers can build a game platform from scratch. Programmers can use whatever is available: Half-Life, Warcraft, and even multimedia fusion. Some game platforms are Half-Life, Warcraft 3, and some dedicated game platforms are multimedia fusion and Game Maker. Here are some libraries: Unity 3D, SNA, Ogre, and PyGame. PyGame, or rather, first I have to introduce Python before I go to PyGame. Python is an object-oriented programming language. It has a dynamic type system, as mentioned before, and has an interactive shell. It can be found at python.org. No other website has it. Simple syntax. To the right is C, and to the left is the Python equivalent. This has been explained earlier. Password are defined with def and tabs in today's class of code. I have found new enemies. No semicolon needed and mistake. Import is equivalent to include, C++, and self is this. The double under init is the constructor. A dynamic type system doesn't care what the data type of the value is assigned to the variable. So I, in this case, is integer, and this would generate a compiler error in a C++, or rather in a static type environment. For a dynamic type system, this is no problem. However, you cannot mix operation with different data types unless they are compatible. For example, you cannot divide the character S by 1, which doesn't make sense. Common Python data types are integer, float, string, list. Example of this is an open bracket, and then the values of the list. Such as 0, 1, 2. We use append to add new data to a list, and remove data from a list. To control Python flows, we use the if statement, which is if condition. To iterate, we use this for loop for variable in container. PyGame is a game platform for Python. It can be found at pygame.org and nowhere else. How many time do I have left? 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, I'm going to make a game. First, I'm going to console.
Talaga window ka.
Where are you? And here, I'm going to open Notepad. Let's play this game using PyGame, Python, and Notepad. First, we need to import PyGame, of course, and then initialize PyGame, of course, and we need to generate a the window 640 by 40. We need a game loop, an infinite loop tab. This will not end well. We need to update the display. Save Python main.py. We have a 640 by 480 window. It crashed. That's normal. That's because we are not checking the events from the operating system. We need to do that first so that it wouldn't crash. So we have an event list, and each event we have to iterate, and then we're going to check if we can quit, or rather we need to handle the quit. No more crashing. Oh wait, there's control here. Alright. We have a display, and it's working with the operating system. Almost. Next, we're going to create a game object. We have here images which I got from the internet. I did not draw this. This isn't plagiarism because this is from a tutorial. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So, we're going to create a player and get an image. PyGame image load image / player one.gif. Player one.gif. Next, we need to delete the object on the screen. That's not what I wanted. So remember, this is the window, and we're going to delete the player image, and we're going to put it at 0, 0. That's our image, our first sprite. Next, I'm going to make the sprite move. See? We need a position, and we're going to use that. The first index is the x-axis, and the second index is the y-axis. Question. I want the sprite to move to the right. Should I do plus or minus? Is everyone sure?
Minus times. Minus times. Hindi, joke lang. Pero mas mabilis yun.
Yes. It went to the right. But we have a bug. It seems that the previous belief haven't been erased. If anyone here is familiar with cartoons, and if you're not familiar with cartoons, I'm very sad for you. Cartoons are done frame by frame. And every frame, we change the image, or rather, the frame. Here, we are going to use PyGame that fill screen. Sorry. We're going to fill the screen with RGB 000 or black. There we go.
Nice.
It went the other way. Now, if you've noticed, it moves very fast, right? That's because this computer is very fast. And it's an infinite loop. It looks very, very fast. So we need to limit the frame rate. We need a clock. And we're going to take 60 frames per second. Here it is. Every second there are 60 frames, and every frame it moves by 1. And it's too slow. Let's go 21 frames per second. Still slow. Instead of +1, let's do 10. I like that a lot more. Give me a sec. Next, if you notice, our sprite is at the top. Let's put him at the bottom. Instead of 640 by 4, or rather, instead of 0, 0, let's move it at close to the Y position. Let's say 420. Next, we're going to allow user input. So first, let's get rid of this. And we need to check if the user press the left or right button. Arrow keys. Please state. This goes to the right, right? Then move by 10. Is this plus or minus? Okay, let's give this a try. Right! Of course! Forgot to add the elements. See, nobody's perfect. Let's try this again. Right. Anyone that's why happened? The wrong index. It's supposed to be 0. Right? Left.
Oh,
That
nice.
wasn't very exciting. I like that one more. But I can't complain. Now, we need the enemies. Enemy. You are alien. default at 0, 0. Every frame, the enemy is grown, and every frame, the enemy moves to the right. I will not forget that. Let's say 7. Yes, the enemy is going that way. I can catch it, and I can kill it. So, before we do that, let's make the game more interesting. We need more enemies. Now, normally, in a procedural-based programming language, you would create enemy 1, enemy 2, and so on. But since we are an object-oriented programming language, we are going to create a class. We need an update. And we need a draw. I forgot the image. Give me a sec.
Galing. Galing.
Hindi ka bebe.
Hindi. Well, medyo malinaw yan. Oh. Pagka nasa PC na medyo malinaw.
Hiram na lang.
Sige, send ko sa'yo. Magpa-Python ka na?
Hindi.
Update the enemy.
Hindi naman i-recycle sa ibang.
Draw the enemy.
Oo.
Oh yes, I forgot. So this is now an object-oriented programming language. Now we can create more enemies. Let's create 2, 3, and 4. Season 5, Season 10, and 20. I'll fix you later. But for now, let's do this. And 1, 2, 3, 4.
Crash.
Missing.
Nagka-crash.
I see.
Wala.
Alright, there's our 4 enemies. We'll fix that later. So, it would be tiresome if we have to make 1,000,000 enemies. So, what we need is a container. That's our container. I'm just going to take that spawn of an enemy. And add the spawn. For each enemy container, what first? Let's make another. And another. To make it more interesting, let's add a random number. This has been shown to us a while back. Random integers from, let's say, 0 to 30.
Ayop.
random numbers. Give me a sec. And now we add a bullet. The name of the bullet is shot. Can you all still hear me? I'm worried that my mic might have disappeared. Zero, zero. Every frame we check, or rather we flip the bullet. So let's see what it looks like. There's our bullet at 0, 0. So let's put him over here instead.
Galing nga. Ang galing nga.
We are at position 420. And every frame, the bullet will go up. Should I use plus or minus?
Divide. 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 Divide.
Let's move to 5. There was a bullet,
Ayop.
so there is no bullet. I like that bullet. It's not dramatic. There we go. Very dramatic. Now, if we press the spacebar button, we're going to move the bullet on the player sprite.
Oo, sige. Maganda na.
See what I do? There. I'll explain what I do like this.
Galing nga.
Space button.
Ayos.
They know this is not directly at that turret. So, we have to
Galing
take
ah.
this. You can try adding 13. No. 25.
Ah, sa gitna. Sa gitna. Okay.
Still no good.
Sa...
Oo, yun sa mismong ano.
41. There we go.
Almost there.
Now I'm sure you saw the. Yeah, this is close enough. I'm not speaking. So if you notice, when we started the game, there's a bullet that is already on the screen. We have to somehow hide it. We game programmers love to cheat. Yes, it's true. So we're going to put the position at negative 1,000. There's no way we can see it now.
Ayos.
Now for the hard part.
Nando
Collision
coordinate.
detection.
Ay, collision.
Collision.
You've seen the mat. The mat, where is it? It's over here. So we're going to add collision detection to our game.
Copy paste.
Oh boy.
Meron na nga. Copy paste.
Alright, here we go. That's not what I wanted
Novice.
at all. He's back, isn't he? Alright, let's add the condition deduction. This is horrible. This is horrible.
Kabisado yung ano ah.
Diyan kayo ba magturo?
Hindi, yung sa ano niya, sa Windows, kabisado niya mga keyboards ano.
Siyempre.
Normal yung sa mga Linux ano. Yung mga Linux sa Windows o Mac or ano.
Na talaga.
Collision detection.
Here's the formula. Very painful to look at. And instead of using buts, our buts 1 is supposed to be our shot. This is supposed to be bullet position.
Bullet.
Yes. And we need to check the width of our image. The image width is 9. 9. But 2, we're supposed to check the enemy. We're going to put this here. Thumb.
Tam.
The size of our enemy is 80 for the width. The shot is 18. The height is the enemy is 71. If there's a collision, we're going to remove the enemy from that container. If this works,
Nice,
I'm running out of time.
Galing ah.
Then,
Galing.
Alright, I can answer questions while it's being set up. How do we do this? We only have one mic.
Hello, Gord. I'm wondering if you know of any mature PyGame frameworks, PyGame-based frameworks, something like enterprise class frameworks.
None that I know. Usually low level. Like this.
Okay.
Wait, I suddenly answer. GrandPy. GrandPy is a visual novel in development.
what platforms does PyGame support aside from PC?
Windows, Mac, Linux. Possibly Android, but there's a lot of work to make that work.
Can you use PyGames for developing mobile games?
Like I said, it depends on how well you... I've seen some PyGames that works on Android, but I haven't seen the code, so I can't comment on how they build it. You can go check RedPy, because RedPy is built on top of RedPy is built on top of PyGame, and RedPy works on Android. So it's possible.
Does PyGame also can be used to develop 3D games?
Yes, there's an OpenGL binding for PyGame. If I remember correctly, the competitor for that is PyOpenGL. So you have two choices.